Hi, it's Peter Hilliard again. I'm talking about Last Midnight today from Into the Woods. And if you missed the earlier video about On the Steps of the Palace, you might want to go check that out first, because in it I talk about how Sondheim's melodies function, how there'll be a little idea that develops many different ways, and those developments of that basic first idea become a kind of vocabulary as the piece moves forward. In that video, I also discuss how Sondheim will set up a lyric binary, a rhythm of A and B in phrasing that then he subverts. And usually when the thing is subverted, the character is making a decision or the thought process is changing a little bit and the story is being developed. A few things just to get us started here. This is a waltz. Sondheim's waltzes are very particular. He writes them maybe like nobody else. Richard Rodgers, for example, has written many, many waltzes. Rodgers was famous for writing waltzes. And when Rodgers was writing waltzes, there was something kind of old world feeling about them still, because the waltz is a Viennese dance form that was very popular in operetta. So to put a waltz in a Rodgers and Hammerstein show might have meant that you were referring back to an older world. But in Sondheim's hands, the waltz often has a kind of sarcastic and somewhat brutal intention. The best example of this comes from Follies. And if I think about certain sections of Last Midnight, I can hear a family resemblance. So, for example, here's Last Midnight. Told a little lie, stole a little gold, broke a little vow. If I compare that to, could I live through the pain on a terrace in Spain? Would it pass? It would pass. Could I bury my rage with a boy half your age in the grass? Bet your ass. You want to go elsewhere? A little priest at the end of Act 1 in Sweeney Todd is also a waltz. It's a duet, but it's a very cynical, it's maybe one of the most cynical moments in Sondheim. So a waltz in a Sondheim musical often has a biting dark edge, and this one begins with this just fifths. And we haven't had anything like this texture in the whole musical so far. Not only does it go, it also has a chromatic rising feature that goes up, very grounded in the fifth, in the bottom of the texture, and then the top of the texture is moving around very chromatically in a very unsettling way. Just as in On the Steps of the Palace, this piece begins with a 5-note limited set that then gets tweaked as it repeats, as the character is making her argument. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it starts on 5. 5, 2, 3, 4. A little reordering of the same pitches and one missing. Then, kind of like the first phrase, and then a new idea. Soon it will be boom, squish. Now, just as in other Sondheim songs, that new idea is really important. And that becomes, that soon it will be boom, squish, becomes the center of the brand new idea, which is told a little lie, stole a little gold, and you're going to hang on that for literally, let's see, 3 times. Told a little lie, stole a little gold, broke a little vow, did you? Then, same pattern, higher. Had to get your prince, had to get your cow, have to get your wish, doesn't matter how, anyway, it doesn't matter now. Once we get into this sort of obsessive loop, you can hear the rhythm increasing in speed, and it's also, the character is ruminating and obsessing over this moment with the same pitch set. We had a 5-note set, then a new 5-note set that hinged on the end of the first section. When that section changes and we have soon it will be boom, squish, told a little lie, we have this pattern chord's pretty important in the show. It always accompanies the witch or the curse, and it happens here. It's the same chord. It's like a minor major 9 chord. Happens at the very first entrance that she has under the bean theme, which is missing here somehow, surprisingly. It's also, when she goes, sorry, I'm still not mollified. That's that chord. I laid a little spell on them. And then you get this chord, which is another one of those chords, a minor chord with a major 7 and a 9. So this is her signature chord, where she goes, told a little lie, and that's her chord over this new idea, which is going to be one of the main ideas. So now I got 2 sets of ideas, this da-da-dee-dee-dum and this ba-da-da-da-da idea. That goes on for a while, and then a really interesting development happens. The very first new thing that happens as we move a little further into the piece is critically important and ties back to a bunch of other earlier things in the piece. She goes, nothing we can do, not exactly true. You can always give her the boy, no. Give her the boy, no. Which again is tracing out some kind of diminished harmony related to her curse chord that happens throughout it. But listen carefully to this contour on give her the boy, give her the boy. Then she comes back to it after she goes, no, of course what really matters is the blame. She's back in her old thing. Someone you can blame, fine, if that's a thing you enjoy. There it is again. Placing the blame, if that's the aim, give me the blame, give me the blame. That's all the same do-da-do-dee, do-da-do-da, over and over again. That's the new obsessive thing, right? Well, what is that thing? Turns out it's really important, and we've heard it quite a lot in the show. It's this motive that Sondheim has spent the entire show developing from this original, very first idea. We've heard it from the very first number. I wish my son were not a fool. It's not for me, it's for my granny in the woods. Comes from the wish theme. Da-da. That part is I wish. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. But it's also birds in the sky. Do-da-da-da. The cow as white as milk, the cape as red as blood. Did I abuse her or da-da-da-da? Running away, let's do it. What did I clearly say? Careful the things you say. Ba-da-da-da. Sondheim has even done it in an inversion. Ever after, da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. So whatever this tune means in the piece, it has slowly germinated throughout the piece as a manifestation of the wish and the consequences of the wish. So when she goes, give her the boy, that's a very loaded melodic statement, which she keeps coming back to. If that's the thing you enjoy, placing the blame. If that's the aim, give me the blame. Just give me the boy, over and over on a descending pattern. Then she sings, you're so nice, on that same minor chord with a major 7 and a 9. And she's obsessing again. She's falling into melodic cycles. I'm the hitch, I'm what no one believes, I'm the witch. You're all liars and thieves like his father. His son will be too, oh why bother? That little diminished, changing, rising, diminished pattern in the vocal is very hard to hear. That's where a lot of witches go terribly out of tune. But it's also part of this tonally unstable thing that exists in Agony, in I Know Things Now, in the Wolf's song. In every one of these big moments, there's a tonally unstable part, often with a repeating melodic pattern. This is the witch's version of this, where she's like in a fever pitch of obsession. All of these obsessive Sondheim melody loops end up releasing, this one releases into the last midnight, so goodbye. All of these Sondheim obsessive loops eventually release into a new idea, and the new idea is the old idea. It's the last midnight. So we're bringing the whole tune home here. Coming at you fast. That's the return of this other idea. By the time you get to a certain point in a Sondheim song, he's established all of the vocabulary, and we're kind of parking on those ideas. Here, you want a bean, have another bean, da-da-da-da-dum. Now, oddly, there's no bean theme in here, which I don't quite understand. We just have a xylophone as she tosses these beans out willy-nilly to and fro. I'm leaving you alone. You can tend the garden, it's yours. She has two more iterations of that theme I pointed out. Down on all fours, where you did then. Then she's in one final loop. Give me claws and a hunch just away from this bunch and the gloom and the doom and the boom. And then very similar to the end of Could I Leave You in Follies, there's this long note, right? Boom. And then she says crunch, sings crunch, shrieks crunch, what have you. And then you have this one last crunchy zap chord to kind of knock things off. Does that remind you of Will I Leave You? Will I leave you? Guess. It's like a more dissonant version of Will I Leave You, as she's leaving them, right? She's going to disappear at the end of this number. Lots of things you could talk about here in addition to what we've just discussed. We could talk about Ravel's La Valse and its connection to other kinds of angry waltzes throughout history. Sondheim is definitely in some kind of historical conversation with those. You could talk about The Witch and how she is a truth teller, almost in a Hammersteinian tradition. In Hammerstein's musicals, the outsider is often a negative character in the piece, but often the outsider tells the truth, and this is a classic truth teller. She's saying the negative version of the positive message of the show. You think about Into the Woods, you think about the end of it being so sweet and such a, careful the things you say, children will listen, we got to stick together and tell stories. This is the negative message of the piece, which is no less true than the positive message, and it's being delivered here by maybe one of Sondheim's angriest, most bitter, most abused characters in the whole Sondheim corpus. There's so many things to talk about, but really Sondheim is making these arguments musically and lyrically built on these obsessive repetitions and then references back to earlier parts of the piece, whether that be a very particular chord or a melodic contour that has been slowly germinating over the whole piece, so that when we get to this part of the show, the piece has so many references backwards to what we've already heard that we feel like we're part of a very carefully constructed world, which is what Sondheim is maybe the best at, is building a world of associations. Hope you've enjoyed that. You can, I guess, as they do these days, like and subscribe. Maybe there'll be more content like this if I can think of it. And happy music making. I hope you enjoy your production of Into the Woods.